In the dust-choked towns of the unforgiving West, one name was whispered with a mix of fear and awe: Jedediah Stone. They called him the Ghost of the Plains, a bounty hunter so ruthless, so efficient, that the moment he took your bounty, you were as good as dead. Jedediah wasn't a man of many words. His communication came through the cold steel of his Colt and the steely glint in his eyes. He'd brought in outlaws big and small, from cattle rustlers to cold-blooded killers, never once failing to collect his reward. His reputation was his shield and his sword, a legend forged in gunpowder and gold. One scorching afternoon, a fresh poster appeared on the sheriff's board in dusty Redemption Creek. The bounty was the highest Jedediah had ever seen: $10,000, dead or alive, for a figure known only as Silas. The poster offered little detail, just a name and a reputation for being a phantom, a whisper on the wind who disrupted the operations of the powerful railroad tycoon Bartholomew Kane. For Jedediah, the lack of information wasn't a problem. It was a challenge. The bigger the mystery, the bigger the payday. He tore the poster from the board, the paper crinkling in his gloved hand. Silas was his next mark. Jedediah's tracking skills were legendary. He could read the land like a book, noticing a bent blade of grass or a disturbed pebble where others saw nothing. He started his hunt at the last known site of Silas's activity, a sabotaged railroad bridge deep in the canyons. The scene was one of chaos, but to Jedediah it was a map. He found a single unique footprint, smaller than a man's, lighter. He noticed a faint scent of wild lavender, out of place amidst the creosote and dust. This wasn't the trail of a common thug. This was something different. The trail led him through treacherous badlands and shadowy arroyos. Along the way, he found more signs, a carefully set snare trap not for animals, but for men. A message left on a rock, written in a strange symbolic language. Jedediah felt a growing unease. He was the hunter, yet it felt as if he was being watched, studied, even led. One evening, as he made camp, an arrow with a white feather shot out of the twilight and landed just inches from his boot. Attached was a small piece of leather with a single word burned into it: turn back. Jedediah merely scoffed, tossing the warning into his campfire. No one told him to turn back. Days turned into a week. Jedediah grew leaner, meaner, his frustration mounting. The trail was a maddening puzzle. Silas seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once. He'd find a freshly abandoned camp, the fire still warm, only to be miles away from where he expected his quarry to be. It was as if Silas could vanish into thin air. Jedediah's confidence began to waver, replaced by a grudging respect for his unseen adversary. This was no ordinary outlaw. This was a master of evasion, a ghost in truth as well as name. The chase culminated in a narrow box canyon known as Devil's Jaw. The high walls offered no escape. Jedediah knew this was it. He dismounted, his rifle ready, and proceeded on foot. The canyon was eerily silent. The only sound the crunch of his boots on gravel. He saw a figure standing at the canyon's end, silhouetted against the setting sun. As he drew closer, the silhouette resolved. It wasn't the grizzled, hardened man he'd expected. It was a woman. She was slender, dressed in practical buckskin, with a calm, unwavering gaze that met his own without a flicker of fear. In her hand, she held a bow, not a pistol. This was Silas. Jedediah froze, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. All his assumptions, all his experience had led him to this impossibility. "Jedediah Stone," she said, her voice clear and steady, "I've been expecting you." He raised his rifle. "The bounty's for Silas, man or woman, it makes no difference to me." "My name is Alara," she replied. "Silas is just a name they gave my shadow." She didn't move, didn't flinch. "You're hunting the wrong person. Bartholomew Kane is the real criminal. He's stealing land from homesteaders, my family included. He drove them out, and I'm just taking back what he stole." Her words hit Jedediah with an unexpected force. He had always seen the world in black and white, law and outlaw, bounty and target. But Alara was painting it in shades of gray. "Lies won't save you," Jedediah growled, but his voice lacked its usual conviction. "Then look," Alara said, gesturing to a hidden alcove. Jedediah, cautious, approached it. Inside, he found stacks of documents, forged land deeds, fraudulent contracts, all bearing Kane's signature. It was undeniable proof. Bartholomew Kane wasn't a victim. He was a predator, using the law as his weapon, and Jedediah had been his unwitting tool. For the first time in his life, Jedediah was faced with a choice that wasn't about gold or glory. He looked at the proof, then at Alara. Her fight was just. Her cause was right. His whole world, built on the simple code of the bounty, was crumbling. He lowered his rifle. The $10,000 bounty felt like dirty money now. He saw in Alara a reflection of a part of himself he'd long buried, a sense of justice that went beyond the letter of the law. "What will you do now, bounty hunter?" Alara asked, her gaze piercing. Jedediah looked back toward the mouth of the canyon, then at her. He thought of the posters, the sheriffs, the gold. Then he thought of the families Kane had ruined. He pulled the crumpled bounty poster from his coat, looked at it one last time, and then slowly, deliberately, tore it in two. The pieces fluttered to the canyon floor. "Silas," Jedediah said, his voice rough, disappeared in Devil's Jaw. The trail went cold. A slow smile spread across Alara's face. In that moment, the ruthless bounty hunter died, and something new was born. Jedediah Stone rode out of Devil's Jaw a different man. He didn't ride back to Redemption Creek to report his failure. Instead, he rode toward the railroad, toward Bartholomew Kane. The Ghost of the Plains had a new hunt, but this time it wasn't for a bounty. It was for justice. And for the first time, he wasn't alone. A new legend was just beginning, one of a hunter and a ghost united against the true wolves of the West. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wild West adventure. If you enjoyed the story of Jedediah and Alara, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more tales from the frontier. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. See you next time.